The night my father introduced her, he said one sentence that changed everything. He said, "She will take care of us now." Her name was Linda. She stood next to him in our living room like she already owned it, with a soft smile, hands folded, and a voice calm enough to sound harmless. I was 17, old enough to notice things, but young enough to doubt myself. My father had been alone for 2 years after my mother died. The house stayed quiet, perhaps too quiet. Linda filled the silence immediately, not loudly, but strategically. She didn't try to replace my mother, and she never said her name. That was smarter. At first, she focused on my father, cooking for him, listening to him, and agreeing with him. She learned his routines before she learned mine. That should have warned me. She called me sweet, said she respected my space, and told me I didn't have to see her as family. That sounded mature and reasonable, but slowly, boundaries became distance. She rearranged the kitchen, then the living room, and then the photo frames. My mother's pictures didn't disappear. They just moved from the walls to the shelves, and then to a drawer. I noticed, but my father didn't. Linda spoke softly. Always. When she corrected me, it was concern. When she criticized me, it was worry. When she lied, it was for peace. She never argued in front of my father, never raised her voice, and never contradicted him directly. She waited. If I disagreed with her, she'd sigh. If I pushed back, she'd look hurt. If I stayed silent, she'd smile. I started feeling guilty without knowing why. She told my father I was struggling, that I was confused, and that teenagers often lash out. He believed her. Why wouldn't he? She never said I was bad. She said I was fragile. That was worse. My father started checking on me differently, not with care, but with suspicion. Conversations changed and questions felt like evaluations. Linda started handling finances, saying it reduced stress for him. She organized documents, medical papers, insurance, and the will. She didn't hide it. She normalized it. She suggested therapy for me, saying grief shows up late. The therapist was a recommendation. During sessions, I sounded angry, defensive, and unstable. Linda sounded calm, supportive, and exhausted. Guess who seemed more credible? At home, she'd tell me how worried my father was, how tired, and how sensitive. She said I should try harder for him. I stopped talking. Silence worked in her favor. One night, I overheard them arguing quietly in the kitchen. My name came up, then my future, then responsibility. Linda said something I'll never forget. She said, "What if something happens to you and he can't cope alone?" I realized then I wasn't family. I was a risk. Weeks later, my father suggested I move out for college early. Not because he wanted me gone, but because he thought it was best. Linda cried when he said it, saying it would be hard for her. That sealed it. I left out. We spoke less after that. Calls got shorter and visits rarer. Linda always answered the phone first. Years passed. When my father got sick, Linda didn't call me immediately, saying she didn't want to worry me. By the time I arrived, decisions had already been made. Doctors, treatments, and legal permissions. I wasn't excluded. I was bypassed. During one hospital visit, a nurse assumed Linda was his only family, and she didn't correct her dot at the reading of the will. Nothing shocked me. It confirmed what I already felt. The house, the accounts, and the authority were all hers. My father had left me something small, personal, and symbolic. Linda hugged me afterward and said she hoped there were no hard feelings. Her voice never changed. Still calm, still kind. I understood then how betrayal actually works. Not with violence or hate, but with patience, with positioning, and with someone else's trust. Linda didn't steal my father. She replaced me slowly until no one noticed I was gone.